Hey, welcome everybody. This is the Washington Football Maniacs. My name is Greg. I am your host. And of course, this channel is dedicated to news and commentary for your Washington Commanders, or if you still call them Washington Redskins, hey, it's okay. Look at the back here. So if you're down with that, please make sure to possibly, maybe subscribe to this channel. When you do, hit the notification bell so you won't miss any other video releases. And when I say that, make sure you choose all videos. Okay, so you won't miss any other videos. Okay, so I just want to touch upon this really quickly. So, of course, a few days ago, um, Josh Harris, majority owner of the Washington Commanders, came out and said that he felt the name was growing on everybody. He felt that with the culture, with the employees, with the team, and all that, they really liked the Commanders name, and so he's going to stick with it. And he sees no plans of ever switching away from the Commanders for the foreseeable future. However, it's one thing that he did say was that, well, we are going to go back to our brand when it comes to uniforms. What does that mean? Well, it's been talked about, and I kind of hit upon it in a few videos ago. But again, I don't mean to keep rehashing, but I think it's important, as obviously the media keeps asking Josh about this, but things haven't really been clear yet. We still don't know, but it sounds like what is likely is that the Washington Commanders uniforms are going to basically go back and mimic and I heard this as well, the glory years, the Joe Gibbs 1.0 era, basically the 1980s. And the 1980s was, of course, the glory years, the early 90s when we won our last Super Bowl. But mostly in the 80s, it was the white jerseys on the burgundy pants, with the burgundy pants having the gold and white stripe going down. Of course, the red, or I'm sorry, the burgundy numbers on the white jerseys, the stripes on the sides, and a helmet having the gold and white stripes going down the middle. Of course, you finish it all off with the chief. Now, that's the only thing that I think that they wouldn't bring back unless it's a throwback. And I think at this point now, we're probably going to wind up seeing those as throwbacks, which will be fine with me. But talking about that, if the Commanders do kind of go back to that, and I think he kind of also maybe hinted. Now I'll have to go back and verify this, but possibly maybe the white jerseys being the home jerseys again. I always enjoyed Washington's look with the white jerseys and the burgundy pants. I mean, they wore them on the road and home. They wore them all the time. I mean, it's kind of like the Dallas Cowboys, where the Cowboys, you only see them wear their blue jerseys on maybe one or two games during the year, but for the most part, usually they're wearing those white jerseys. And it was the same way with the Washington Redskins back during the Joe Gibbs days. It was almost every single time you're going to see them wearing the white jerseys on the burgundy pants. And now, for the younger fans, they're probably looking at that and being like, I hate the idea, because Redskins to me doesn't really conjure up glory years. They conjure up all of those losing years that I saw as I was growing up. So I don't like the idea. And then for some of us who are older, who did get to witness those glory years, we're saying, yeah, I want to see a throwback to that. Not just a throwback, but I want to see that as a regular uniform. And then if you want to put the W on the side for Commanders, Washington Commanders, okay. Maybe you continue, put like the Commanders logo, not the logo, but the name on the front of the jersey, even though I don't know. I just feel that looks a little tacky. Looks a little just thrown together, in my opinion. Maybe they come up with a better font, for Commanders, maybe more of like a handwritten written thing, or maybe you go back to the Redskins font for it. I mean, that would be pretty cool. I'd like to see that. So, um, I'm all for that. Now, as I've stated before, um, I I would be so happy if they went back to being called the Washington Redskins and having the chief on the helmet and all that stuff. But it's not going to happen. It's not. No matter how many protests and stuff that you may see against the team for changing the name, it's not going to be as effective as whatever protest that might have been for wanting the team to go away from Redskins. I had hoped that maybe there was a opportunity to change the name to Warriors, and then we could go back to all of that easily. But I think that they're still on track of they don't necessarily want to go back to the Indian imagery, but they do want to be as connected to the past as they possibly can be because we had a great past before Dan Snyder. There was the Washington Redskins, and before him, there was a Washington Redskins team that was one of the premier franchises of the league. And it was a team that had been in 4 Super Bowls, won 3 of them. And actually, altogether, if you count the 70s, that they were in 5 Super Bowls. Again, just won 3 of them, but a team that basically played as contenders every single season. It was either San Francisco or it was Washington, or you would see the Giants kind of come up there. But really, honestly, during the 80s, it was consistently more Redskins and 49ers who you would wind up seeing in the Super Bowls more than anything else. I mean, you had Washington in there from 82 to 83, those 2 seasons. And then later on in 87, and then, of course, in 91. But they made the NFC Championship game several times, more than that as well. So, I mean, you know, this was a team that really was the premier, truly was a premier franchise. Even after Joe Gibbs stepped down, they started having some really tough years. They were still considered one of the top teams. That everybody just kind of felt like they would finally get it together. And you brought in Norv Turner, who he was the Captain Mediocre in my opinion. I mean, it took him so long. It took him like what was it? He took over in '94. It wasn't until I think the '99 season they finally made the playoffs. So I mean, you're looking at 5 seasons it took them to make the playoffs. I think the season before that they were like 7-2, 8-2, something like that. Really looked like they were going to the Super Bowl, and then they collapsed. But other than that, I mean, they were still a team that everybody respected. And of course, when Dan Snyder took over, all of that kind of went by, beyond the wayside. But I'm saying all that to say that I think it's important that if you are going to pull together a fan base, because uh, let me tell you this, it leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth when you're saying, we're going to leave all that behind and we're going to have, these brand new looking uniforms. Heck, we're even going to use black as a main color. We're doing away with the logos and, the name and all that stuff. And for new fans, they're like, yes, we want our own stuff. You guys had all of that. We don't want that anymore. We still want to claim it, but we want our own stuff. We don't want to have anything other than just claiming the championships, but we won't have anything else to do with Washington Redskins. And I don't think that leaves a very good taste in a lot of the fan base's mouth. And I think as well, you have people who are Redskins or nothing, and I'm like, I hear you. I would love more than anything for them to go back to that, but it's not happening. And so I come to the realization, as much as I really have always said that Commanders is kind of a generic name, but what helps is winning. And so if they win as the Commanders, they win the Super Bowl as the Commanders, I think you eventually you embrace everything because they're winning franchise and organization. That being said, I think it's great to consider, keeping the W, maybe using the old logo as a throwback, maybe a combination of that and another throwback for the spear. I know a lot of people would love to see the spear again. Has nothing to do with Commanders, but then again, look at the Tennessee Titans, who wear their throwbacks every now and then with the old tower on the side. Has nothing to do with Tennessee, has everything to do with the Oilers from Houston. So you can do that. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. So I could see a lot of that happening. I do like the idea of going back to the uniforms that we have all known and loved, because quite frankly, I despise the white jersey that we have currently. It looks too much like a Cardinal, and you can try to convince me all day long that if you see this jersey in person, you'll see that it's the correct color of burgundy. But guess what? Most of the time, we're seeing this on the TV, on the field, and it still doesn't look right to me. So I don't want my team looking like the Cardinals, just like I don't want my team looking like the Steelers. And I know there's a lot of fans who love the black. I don't like the black at all. I burgundy gold all the way for me, burgundy, white, and gold. Those have always been the colors for this team and should remain, in my opinion. And so I I would be very satisfied, happy if they go this route and they go back to the old brand of the uniforms. Of course, adding in the W for the Commanders and roll with that. Perfectly fine with that. I think the fans will be fine with that. Just like when they first dropped Redskins and went with Washington Football Team, it was kind of weird seeing them without the chief on the side of the helmet. But after a while, I was like, I still recognize that team. That still looks like my old Redskins. And so I was fine with that. After a while, I was kind of like, let's just stick with this. If we can't ever decide on a new name, I'm fine with this Washington Football Team. But, you know, it is what it is, folks. So I'm excited to hear about that. I think Josh is trying to do the right thing. Whether if I agree with him or not in terms of sticking with Commanders, beside the point. If he wants to stick with Commanders, but he still wants to maybe have an older, the more on brand look of what we had with the Joe Gibbs era, I'm all for that. Let's do that, because I think ultimately that will, some of those fans who hate Commanders and love the Redskins will see that and be like, I kind of like that. I kind of deal with that. It looks enough like my team that I can still do that. Whereas right now you're seeing the team out in the field and you're like, I know it's my team, but when I'm seeing those black helmets and that black jersey, that's not my team. So folks, let me know what you think about all of that. I've stated many times my thoughts, and I still get weird comments in the comment section where it's like, call them Redskins. That's what they are. Or you're caving in, to the woke agenda. And believe me, if you know me, you'll know that I am so anti-woke. It is ridiculous. I am just a realist, and I understand you're probably not going to get Redskins back. And so now that Harris has came out and he said, sticking with Commanders, what are you going to do? You're not going to do much about this. They're sticking with Commanders. So it's better to just look at knowing that your owner is like, we're sticking with this, but we do want to still bring the past back and have it current. Why not do that? I'm willing to accept that, move on. I think that's good for young fans. I think that's good for older fans. And I think that'll bring the team together. What will bring the whole franchise together? Winning the Super Bowl. And so ultimately, that's what I'd rather see. Folks, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, give it a share. Hope you enjoyed my cat in the background. And with that said, I will see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.